No matter the medium, foreshadowing is always a satisfying storytelling device. It's not easy to get right, of course, and messing it up can ruin a potential twist or reveal at the end of a narrative, but sometimes writers are amazing at dropping subtle hints to future events or beats. This often gets to the point where you don't even notice them the first time around, but upon a revisit, they seem so obvious that you feel a little silly for missing them. We've covered some great examples of this before when it comes to major endgame plot twists, but sometimes games are even subtler than that, and can reveal a huge detail about a character long before it's ever actually addressed in the story. I'm Josh from WhatCulture.com, and these are 9 tiny video game details that give away character secrets. And of course, massive spoilers ahead. Number 9. Arthur's sickness, Red Dead Redemption 2. There are some impeccable little details hidden in Red Dead Redemption 2 that foreshadow character twists and entire relationships before they're explicitly brought into the narrative. From Micah worming his way into Dutch's ear to Karen's downfall following the death of lover Sean. It's Arthur having TB that becomes obvious on a second run though. When playing it originally, I actually thought this late game twist kinda came out of nowhere. But when you know it's coming, it's almost too obvious what Rockstar was setting up. There are a bunch of moments where Arthur has a coughing fit early on, for instance, which don't seem to be related until you remember that characters only ever cough in fiction when they're desperately unwell. At one point, he even writes in his journal that he's been feeling sick, but that it's, quote, probably nothing. Most of the telltale signs come in Guarma though, just prior to Arthur actually being diagnosed. Here, the character is coughing, fatigued, and even has the bloodshot eyes that define his appearance in Chapter 6. Yet most players chalk it up to the trauma of the shipwreck, not any long-term disease. Number 8. You're actually a cat. Ghost Trick. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective, which might be just the best name a video game has ever had, is a quirky adventure title released on the Nintendo DS, which sees the player take control of a spectre named Sissel and tasked with figuring out who they're controlling, why they're a ghost, and what their purpose is. It's mad stuff, and that kind of mysterious setup inherently informs the player that twists are to be expected. Even with those expectations in mind though, nobody could guess that Sissel was actually a cat who was shot before becoming a ghost. On a second playthrough, however, it's so obvious that Sissel isn't human, to the point where it's a bit kind of embarrassing. The fact that you meet other spirits who have taken different forms than their alive selves, who are also the only other spirits with amnesia by the way, have a tendency to play fight with mice, can see in the dark, hates getting wet, and all around exhibits cat-like behavior, everything clues you in without you actually knowing it. Seriously, there are so many hints in the game that there are entire pages dedicated to the foreshadowing, and it's totally amazing. Number 7. The names of Atlas's fake dead family. Bioshock. When it comes to killer twists and expert foreshadowing, few games are more popular than Bioshock. Everyone knows about the would you kindly reveal and the friendly Atlas turning out to be real villain Frank Fontaine, but the fact that you're being strung along and manipulated is telegraphed even further over the early hours of the story. One memorable moment sees the player attempting to help Atlas rescue his family, made up of wife Moira and son Patrick, who are escaping in a submarine. The sub explodes, supposedly on account of Andrew Ryan, and the murder gives players all the reason they need to want him dead. Of course, there never was a family, and the whole event was further manipulation to not get you to question whether you were being manipulated at all. Yeah, Bioshock is kinda confusing. Patrick and Moira are taken from the name of a place seen on posters around Rapture, which Atlas borrows for his own fake story. They're quite prominent as well, but the game counts on you not questioning your supposed ally and chalking the similarity up to coincidence. Number 6. Pretty much everyone's true identity. God of War. The first couple hours of God of War are absolutely stacked with tiny details that only make complete sense later, but you don't pay them any mind because, like Kratos, you're a stranger to this world and assume that everything is as straightforward and obvious as it seems. Faye's real identity is something which is teased early on, especially when Baldur first comes knocking. He's expecting to find a giant, and instead he bumps into Kratos, who he thinks is the giant he's looking for, which explains why he says things like, "I thought you'd be bigger." Baldur himself, specifically his weakness, is also teased early on, when Kratos and Atreus find Freyr holding mistletoe arrows. The witch freaks out and tells them they're dangerous and then destroys them in a fire. We only find out later that's because they're the only things that can break Baldur's immortality curse. There are a bunch more in God of War, which makes a second playthrough so worth it. Number 5. Peter Englert's true name, Death Stranding. There are a bunch of details, like in God of War, that are thrown at the player early on in Death Stranding, which only make full sense many hours down the line, though they are clearly signposted beforehand. However, the one which isn't explicitly revealed unless you seek it out is Villain Higgs's location within the open world. At a couple of points, you'll receive an email from Peter Englert, who repeatedly asks you to haul a delicate pizza over to his house in the arse end of nowhere. These are some of the most difficult challenges in the entire game, and each time you arrive, he's never there to meet you in the flesh, always having some kind of excuse to not answer the buzzer or join the chiral network. After completing the final challenge, an email reveals, though, that this has actually been Higgs messing with you the whole time, and the place you've been delivering to was his hideout. It's a surprise, especially considering that most people just assumed that the obfuscated identity was simply hiding another celebrity cameo, but the pseudonym Higgs uses reveals his identity straight away. It's an amalgamation of Peter Higgs and Francois Englert, the two scientists responsible for the Higgs particle theory. Number 4. Ava's gun reveals her allegiance, Metal Gear Solid 3. After playing through Metal Gear Solid 3, you'll probably never feel comfortable trusting a person again. Everyone in this game is at least a triple agent for some organization, and by the end, pretty much everyone has betrayed Snake and proven to not be who they say they are. This includes Ava, a supposed spy who's infiltrating the terrorist organization Snake is hunting down. In the end, it turns out she was working for the Chinese government the whole time and leaves her American lover high and dry. The game doesn't exactly shy away from providing you with hints about her true colors though, but like Snake, you probably implicitly trusted this attractive super spy. The biggest giveaway is her weapon. Her Mauser is entirely unique to her and is actually a Chinese Mauser Type 17, a clear nod to her real allegiance. Considering how much of a gun nut Snake is in this, he definitely should have realized, but I guess his mind was on something else. Number 3. The lightsaber's true origin, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order slowly peels back the curtain on who main character Cal Kestis is and how he relates to the Jedi Order. But one of his secrets was hiding in plain sight in pretty much every trailer leading up to the game's release. For the most part, the devs did a pretty good job of hiding the fact that Cal doesn't just wield a regular old lightsaber, but actually has a double-edged one, despite giving players all the info they needed to realize that detail beforehand. The reason why he's seen only using one half of the weapon in the trailers and in the early game is because the lightsaber itself is actually damaged and the hilt has been destroyed. That's due to it being his master's weapon though, passed down when he was slain during Order 66. The thing is, going back, that fact was always front and center. I actually always wondered why Cal's hilt looks strangely large compared to the actual blade, and the reason is that it's not actually a hilt at all. Number 2, Saren and the Elusive Man have the same eyes, Mass Effect. The Mass Effect franchise isn't lacking in great villains, and the very best of the bunch keep you guessing as to their motivations right to the very end. At the time, ME1 Saren was a revelation, an alien bad guy whose motives you could understand, but so clearly corrupted by Reaper indoctrination that the only humane thing to do was put him out of his misery. The second game introduced the Elusive Man, the shady leader of Cerberus, who appears to be on your side at first. After all, he's one of the only people who believes the Reapers are a threat, and shifts heaven and earth to literally bring the player character back from the dead. He becomes the primary human antagonist of the third game, where it's revealed he has also been fully indoctrinated by the Reapers and has started to fuse himself with the alien tech. However, signs of indoctrination were present from his very first scene, with him having the same glowing eyes that Saren also had. This is further explained in a spin-off book, which depicted the Elusive Man's first run-in with Reaper tech years prior to the games, which caused a change in his irises and started the slow indoctrination process that was accelerated in the third release. Number 1, why 2B isn't friendly with 9S, Nier Automata. Nier Automata has so many twists wrapped within twists that you have to play through the game literally 3 times to understand everything that's going on. The aliens you thought you were fighting have been dead the whole time. The humans you thought you were defending have also been dead the whole time. And the characters you're actually playing as are actually kinda evil and kinda brainwashed. The most surprising thing though is that the first android you play as, 2B, is an execution droid designed to kill partner 9S when they reach a certain point on their journey. Their real purpose actually explains so much in hindsight though, especially how adverse 2B is to getting to know her counterpart. She always acts cold to 9S's inquisitiveness and in general is kind of a dick to him despite his constant good nature and offers of friendship. At the end you realize this is all intentional as one day she's going to have to kill him and getting personal will only complicate matters. So that's our list. Want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. Did you notice these little character reveals and twists before they actually happened, or are there any I missed off here? Either way, while you're down there, could you give us a like, share, subscribe, and head over to WhatCulture.com for more lists and news like this every single day. Even if you don't though, I've been Josh, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.